أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
We were discussing last night the encounter of Musa alayhi salam with Khidr and the three events that took place, the three very strange things that Khidr did, and Musa was surprised, could not stop himself asking about it, violating their condition. And then Khidr at the end said that I will inform you of the ta'wil of what you could not have patience on. Now, we said that ta'wil is the deeper aspect of something. It may be a statement, it may be an action, it may be an event. There's always a superficial, apparent meaning to it and a deeper meaning to all those things. So he said there is a deeper meaning to what I did, and I'm going to inform you about it. And the first one, أما السفينة فكانت لمساكين يعملون في البحر. All of you know the story. The ship was, it belonged to very poor people. They were working on this. This was the only means of subsistence for them. And the king wanted to launch a war, and he confiscated every ship down the river. So I broke it so that it was not confiscated. This was the first one. The second one, about that boy. That boy was born to a very pious couple, father and parents. And if this boy had he grown, he would have become a kafir. Not for his own sake, for the sake of the parents. I wanted to, your Lord actually, wanted to take him away and give them another child who would be much better for them. This was the second incident. And the third one, that wall that was breaking apart and we rebuilt it, it belonged to two orphans in that city, and underneath was a treasure. If it collapsed, the people would have found the treasure and taken it away. So Allah wanted that the wall should be repaired so that they themselves could find the treasure and make use of it. And ذَلِكَ تَعْوِيلُ مَا لَمْ تَسْتِعْ عَلَيْهِ صَبْرًا. This is the ta'wil of what you could not have patience upon. And he says, of course, وَمَا فَعَلْتُهُ عَنْ أَمْرِي. I didn't do it on my own accord. It was all on behest, by order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I did it. So, what do we understand? What did Allah want to teach Musa here? Of course, he's not going, he didn't mean to just tell that there are some people in this world who have this type of knowledge or who carry out my commands. He didn't want to say these things. What he wanted to say, if you deeply think about it, is that things may appear different when you look at them on the surface. But if you look at them deeper, things have deeper meanings. Certain things are done by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you could not have patience over it. You question, you ask why this happens. You just say, Ya Allah, because you are God, I accept it. Otherwise, I couldn't understand why you do these things. The same thing as Musa actually did to Khidr. He couldn't understand. He just somehow tolerated Khidr, so to speak, because he knew that he was a man of God, because he was asked by God to follow him. Otherwise, he couldn't have tolerated. He would have probably stopped him continuing his mission if he didn't know that. So, many things happen in this world. Wars, killings, natural disasters. In our family, things happen which are quite disastrous, for example, we don't know why these things happen. We only know a meaning which is on the surface. And on the surface, things may look quite ugly. Now look, the three incidents which happened here, on the surface of it, they were quite, well, at some instances they were appalling, like killing that boy. At some instances they were very strange, like starting to repair that wall. At certain instances, it was shay'an imrah. It was really unacceptable, breaking the ship. So, things may seem very ugly on the surface. And this is the example of this world. Many things happen in this world, we do not know why it's happening. But underneath is all rahmah and mercy of Allah, which appears, because of course we live in a world of free will, it appears quite ugly. Killing that boy was very ugly, but because that boy had free will, and Allah didn't want him to put lots of pressure on his parents, Allah took him away. Allah took him away. Of course, you shouldn't think that it was the Khazr act and then say, are we allowed to do such a thing if we know? No, of course we are not allowed to do such a thing. This was the command of Allah. Allah is doing this every day. He's taking many children away. We don't know what's the reason. Why these children die at a young age, we don't know. But there is something underneath which gives it meaning. We are not aware of that. Many accidents happen in this world, like the one, that ship may have crashed with a rock, for example, and this may happen sometimes. But Allah wanted to show to Musa that, look, all these are what I do, and underneath is all mercy, is all rahmah. And at the surface of it, you may see things differently. So this was the knowledge that Musa gained before, of course, traveling away and becoming a prophet. He gained this knowledge from Khizr, the knowledge of eventuality of events, of things which happen in this world. Okay, maybe there may be some questions in this regard. We leave this for the question and answer slot. Let's continue with the story of Musa alayhi salam. Now, Musa in that city of Ibraniyin, in the Jewish city, so to speak, had killed the man, and Pharaoh had the council and had actually the verdict from the council to kill him. But that Mu'min al Pharaoh informed him that they want to kill you, just run away. He didn't know where to go. Wherever he goes, it is the dominion, sovereignty of Pharaoh. So he had to go far enough to get out of that sovereignty, out of that jurisdiction of Pharaoh. And apparently the nearest place was Madian. Where is Madian? Long way, long way. If you imagine the map, the Egypt, northern Egypt, you have to come down all through the Sinai Peninsula, going down to the other side of the Khalij, which cuts Sinai with Saudi Arabia, today Saudi Arabia, of course, and then he has to pass to the other side, and Madian was in the western boundaries of Hijaz, close to Mecca, somewhere like that. It was there. And he had to travel all this way. How did he know that? Of course, he was a prince. His geography was, of course, very good about the landscape of Egypt and all the countries around. So he knew the first city that he could get out of the sovereignty of Pharaoh was Madian. So he said, okay, now I want to go to Madian, but no map, no guide, no provision. So وَلَمَّا تَوَجَّهَ تِلْقَاءَ مَدْيَنَ, when he set out towards Madian, قال عسى ربي أن يهديني سواء السبيل. I hope God guides me because I don't know the way, how to go to Madian. Even with guides, sometimes it may have been difficult to pass through that peninsula, but he just relying on God, he said, okay, I set out and inshallah I will find the way. And he found the way. Of course, God helped him. He found the way. How long did it take Musa to go there? We don't know. Of course, the guards were after him. He had to hide and do hide and seek until he reached Madian. ولما ورد ماء مدين وجد عليه أمة من الناس يسقون. When he entered the water of Madian, of course, at that time, there were places for watering livestock and taking water. It was a huge area, very crowded usually when they wanted to water livestock. And he found a very strange thing, that men were giving water to their livestock, and there were two ladies trying to keep their sheep. وجد من دونهم امرأتين تذودان. There were two ladies who were just holding their sheep, their livestock, so that they do not run towards the water, waiting for the men to water their livestock and go, and then they come and with hardship they give their livestock water. So he was very surprised. Why these men are like this? The ladies, these two ladies are waiting there. These men are just watering their own sheep. They do not care. They went and asked them, why are you here? This is not a place for ladies, of course. قال ما خطبكما? Why are you two here? قالتا لا نسقي حتى يصدر الرعاء وأبونا شيخ كبير. First of all, we have to wait for all these men. They do not allow us to go. We have to wait all these men. They water their livestock, and then we have to go. And he asked, okay, don't you have any men to come and do it? أبونا شيخ كبير. Our father is very old, and we don't have anyone else. So, you know Musa, of course. He couldn't see anything like this. So he went, took the buckets, very huge ones, and فَسَقَى لَهُمَا, watered them. ثُمَّ تَوَلَّى إِلَى الظِّلِّ, of course, tired of the way, tired of all that hard work. فَقَالَ رَبِّ إِنِّي لِمَا أَنزَلْتَ إِلَيَّ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَقِيرٌ. He went and sat in the shade and said, in the shadow of a tree, and said, my Lord, I am really in need of a khair you sent down to me. In Hadith, Amir al-Mu'mineen says that by God, he was just asking for a loaf of bread because he was hungry for several days. He hadn't eaten anything. And you may say, does God do these things to his prophets as well? Well, of course he does. It's all training, isn't it? The comfort is not something which would make us grow. We always grow with difficulties. So, yes, of course, Musa was under the guardianship of Allah, under the wilaya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why he was going through all these. Now, one of these girls came, and of course the girls went home. The father surprised, you came early? Well, there was a gentleman, very good gentleman. He came, watered for us, and we have come early. He said, go and bring him. I have to remunerate him, so to speak. I have to give him something. So فَجَاءَتْهُ إِحْدَاهُمَا تَمْشِي عَلَى اسْتِحْيَاءٍ. One of them came, of course, with extreme modesty. قالت إن أبي يدعوك ليجزيك أجر ما سقيت لنا. My father is asking for you. He wants to reward you for what you did. Of course, Musa was hungry. He couldn't reject that offer. So he followed. فَلَمَّا جَاءَهُ وَقَصَّ عَلَيْهِ الْقَصَص. When he went home and he said his story, told his story to Shu'aib, and this man was Shu'aib, of course, the prophet of Madian. قال لا تخف نجوت من القوم الظالمين. He said, do not be afraid, that's all. You are saved from the ظالمين now. Now, it's very interesting. When Allah wants to test someone, He would test him in different situations. And of course, coming to Madian for Musa was a big reward for him. You may say he lost the life in palace. Now he has come to a sort of village, countryside sort of life. He had to look after the flocks, the sheep, and be a shepherd. Yes, but here there is a spirituality. Palace was empty of a spirituality. And Allah rewarded Musa by taking him out of that very corrupt environment, bringing him to this. It's like paradise now. It was just like coming out of hell and going to paradise, house of Shu'aib. And what else? He couldn't marry anyone in Egypt. All the women, all the girls of the palace, they were corrupt girls. He couldn't marry anyone. Here, azwajun mutahharatun, pure wife, very good wife. Allah had destined for him. A house, livestock, a real new life Allah destined for Musa here in Madian. And he couldn't be happier than that. As he heard what Shu'aib offered him actually. And this is the meaning of وَاللَّهُ غَالِبٌ عَلَىٰ أَمْرِهِ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Allah is in control. He knows what He's doing. Musa was planning for himself to save Banu Israel. He couldn't, of course, do it like that. Now Allah has planned. He has come here. He should wait here for a while until the time comes, as we have in Surah Taha, وَقَدْ جِئْتَ عَلَىٰ قَدَرٍ يَا مُوسَى. Now you have come to that level that you are ready, you are prepared. I will go through that verse because it actually recaps all the story up till here. Anyhow, when Shu'aib heard that, one of these girls, of course these girls as well couldn't find any husband in that corrupt city. You know, Ahl Madian, Ahl Madian were eventually punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were corrupt people. And Shu'aib couldn't find a good husband for them. So the best opportunity for Shu'aib was to offer the marriage of one of his daughters to Musa. Of course, Shu'aib was a prophet. He could realize immediately by talking to Musa, he had realized what sort of person this man is. So, قالت إحداهما يا أبت استأجره. For a long time they were looking for an honest person to hire to do their work. They couldn't find anyone that they could trust. So as soon as this Musa came, he was there for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. Then one of the girls said, they realized how honest, how trustful this man is. قالت إحداهما يا أبت استأجره. Hire this man. إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. First of all, he's very strong. We saw how he just took the buckets out, huge buckets out of the well, single-handedly. Few men should have done it. And also, he's very trustful. Just by a couple of weeks company, they found out. So he said, okay, I hire him and do something more. I will marry him to one of you. قال إني أريد أن أنكحك إحدى ابنتي هاتين على أن تأجرني ثمانية حجج. Okay, are you ready to work for me for 8 years on condition, or I marry one of my daughters to you on condition that you work for me for 8 years. And if you wish, you can work for, of course, this was not the mahr. Mahr is something different. This was a condition. And the condition that you work for me for 8 years. If you want to finish 10 years, that's up to you. And of course, he offered him very good condition. You flock my sheep, half. Half for you, half for me. And these, of course, that's why Musa actually accrued a good wealth after 10 years working there. And Shu'aib was certainly a very good man, a very spiritual man. قال ذلك بيني وبينك أيما الأجلين قضيت فَلَا أُدْوَانَ عَلَيْهِ وَاللَّهُ عَلَى مَا نَقُولُ وَكِيلٌ. He said, okay, between me and you, this is the condition, 8 or 10, and I will see. I will see which one I want to do, and certainly he was very comfortable there. So he stayed for 10 years. Now, we looked from this side, from the side of Musa. Musa was brought out of the palace, was relieved of all those tedious ceremonies of palace and trainings, military issues and everything. Now he has come to a very spiritual paradise, so to speak. Countryside, mountains, alone all day, thinking, pondering. This is wonderful for Musa. And of course, a good wife, a good house, a good family. This was fantastic. This is what Allah did to Musa. He rewarded him with this. You may say, what? He rewarded him. He took him out of palace, out of all those luxuries and brought him here. Yeah, of course. Luxury has just an appearance. This had depth. This had real meaning for Musa alayhi salam. Now, let's look from the other side. Now, what Shu'aib has found? Well, Shu'aib has found someone like Musa serving him. And his son-in-law, of course, and serving him like a servant, Musa alayhi salam. In hadith, we have that Shu'aib used to cry to Allah very much. Every night he cried. It's Ramadan, of course, it's good we follow him during the night. We cry to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remembering our sins and our misdeeds. But he didn't have any misdeed. It was out of love. He cried to the extent that he went blind. And Allah healed his eyes. He continued crying. And Allah revealed to him, Shu'aib, what is that which you want? Tell me, whatever you want, I give you. You cry so much. Shu'aib said, well, he didn't know what he wants, actually. He didn't want anything, actually. He said, I just like coming to you, talking to you, and when I talk to you, I cry. Of course, it's love, isn't it? When I talk to you, I cry. This is what I want. And then Allah said, okay, I know what to give you. You don't know what you want, and you don't know what to ask for, but I know what to give you. I will give you someone who you will boast about, and I will make him your servant. This is Musa. This is the Ulul Azm prophets. He became a servant for Shu'aib. Shu'aib became a sort of protector for him. Now look, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recaps all these, you remember I said there are two methods of storytelling about Musa, one in Surah Taha and one in Surah Qasas. In Surah Taha, it starts from the middle and there is a recap of the whole story from his childhood. When he asked for help after Allah said that you are appointed to go to Pharaoh, he said, give me a helper, and he said, okay, your help is whoever you want, and he said, I want Harun. He said, okay, Harun will be your wazir. As I said, he set lots of conditions for Allah, isn't it? قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي. Anything else, please? Go on, continue. What else you want? What are the conditions? And at the end, when he finished all his conditions, he said, قال قد أوتيت سؤلك يا موسى. Okay, whatever you want will be given to you, so that you go and carry out this mission with peace of mind. Then he says, وَلَقَدْ مَنَنَّا عَلَيْكَ مَرَّةً أُخْرَى. Of course, previously also we had blessed you. We had given you lots of favors. We have made lots of favors to you. What we did, now this is the recap of what we read from Surah Qasas up till now. إِذْ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّكَ مَا يُوحَىٰ. When I revealed to your mother what I did reveal. أَنْ اقْذِفِيهِ فِي التَّابُوتِ فَاقْذِفِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ. Put him in a box, throw him in the river. فَلْيُلْقِهِ الْيَمُّ بِالسَّاحِلِ, and this river would bring it to the coast, to the shore. يَأْخُذْهُ عَدُوٌّ لِي وَعَدُوٌّ لَهُ, and his enemy and my enemy will take it. وَأَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِّنِّي, we talked about this, and we threw sort of love of you in every heart. وَلِتُصْنَعَ عَلَى عَيْنِي, I wanted you to be raised under my care, even in the palace. In Pharaoh's palace, you were raised under my care. إِذْ تَمْشِي أُخْتُكَ فَتَقُولُ هَلْ أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى مَنْ يَكْفُلُهُ. Remember when your daughter was running after you and then came to the palace and said, do you want me to guide you to someone who can look after him and milk him? فَرَجَعْنَاكَ إِلَىٰ أُمِّكَ كَيْ تَقَرَّ عَيْنُهَا وَلَا تَحْزَنْ. So we return you to your mother so that she will be happy and do not have sorrow. وَقَتَلْتَ نَفْسًا, then you killed someone. Now, then you killed someone, Allah is not reminding him of something wrong that he did. That this was a turning point in your life. It changed the whole course of your life. And this was good actually, it was not bad. However, you became very sad. You became very sorrowful of what you did, because you destroyed the whole plan of saving Banu Israel. فَنَجَّيْنَاكَ مِنَ الْغَمِّ, we relieved you from this gham. How? Maybe later on when he came to Madian. وَفَتَنَّاكَ فُتُونًا, and we tried you and tested you heavily and severely. These are all tests, isn't it? وَفَلَبِثْتَ فِي السِّنِينَ فِي أَهْلِ مَدْيَنَ, then you stayed for a while in أهل مدين. ثُمَّ جِئْتَ عَلَىٰ قَدَرٍ يَا مُوسَى. This is when Allah is talking to him on the Mount Sinai. Then you came to the acquired measure. Now you are ready. وَاصْطَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي. You know why I did all these things to you? You think it was for you? No. I was training you for myself. Now what does this mean? I was training you for myself. Is God so selfish? He put him through all these difficulties and troubles so that he said, I train you for myself. What is myself? That is for my people. I actually trained you for my own affairs. I want you now to go and save people. Pharaoh, yes, go and save Pharaoh. Banu Israel, yes, go and save Banu Israel. So, وَاسْتَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي, I trained you, I made you, so istana is making, isn't it? I made you for myself, for my own aim. And that aim is to save people. Okay, this is when, of course, Musa went to Mount Sinai, which we are discussing here in continuation of Surah Qasas now. The 10 years that he's in Madian is, we have a jump in the story here. Allah doesn't mention anything about it. It's not important. It was just a private, personal peace and experience of Musa with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, one can imagine how peaceful and happy life Musa had in Madian. However, he decided to leave after 10 years. We don't know why he decided to leave. And we don't know where he wanted to go. The one view is that he may have wanted to go back to Banu Israel because he couldn't live there just thinking what was happening to his people. So he wanted to go back. But of course, why? Because as soon as he went back, he would have been caught. But this is one opinion. This is one probability. The other probability is that now he wanted to move somewhere else to guide some people or anything like that. We don't know why he left Madian. Of course, Shu'ayb was still alive, and probably the azab of Madian had yet to come. Maybe this is why he left. We don't know. We don't know why he left Madian. However, when he left Madian, now let's go for the first option. He was coming out to go back to Banu Israel because he couldn't pass one moment without thinking about them. And now, of course, no one would have known him. He could have gone there as someone who no one could recognize him, just live there close by, we don't know. However, when he went out of Madian, coming to Madian, he just found his way. He was not familiar with the routes at all, but he found his way. Now he was familiar with all the routes and he lost his way. Subhanallah, when Allah wants to do something, you see, now he lost his way. فَلَمَّا قَضَى مُوسَى الْعَجَلِ, when Musa finished that appointed time, وَسَارَ بِأَهْلِهِ, and he moved out with his family. Now he had children, how many we don't know, but the traditions say that even now his wife was pregnant. سَارَ بِأَهْلِهِ. They lost their way. It was cold, it was raining, and Musa didn't know what to do. It was night. Just on the plain down by Mount Sinai, he saw a fire on the mount. سار بأهله آنس من جانب الطور نارا. He saw a fire. He said to his wife, look, there's a fire there. Let me go. There should be someone there. We asked the way. If there is not someone, I'll bring some fire. Just you stay here. I'll come back soon. So, آنس من جانب الطور. An interesting thing is that his wife said, which fire? I do not see any fire. So that fire was not seen by anyone. It was only seen by Musa. And that's why in many places it's emphasized that Musa قال لأهله إني آنست نار. I'm seeing a fire. And the wife couldn't see it. No one could see that fire. It was only Musa who was seeing it. So, and آنس means it was something private. Privately he saw. No one else could see that fire up there. Let me go. لعلي آتيكم in Surah Taha, very beautiful verse. لعلي آتيكم منها بقبس. I bring you something of that fire. أو أجد على النار هدى. Or I find someone to guide us where to go, how to find our way. Now, one may become excited to think that Musa was going for guidance. Of course, he was going to that fire for guidance, but he was thinking of something. What sort of guidance? Finding his way. And Allah gave him a guidance which he could not imagine at all, isn't it? He was going there to find guidance, and he found guidance, but that was a different type of guidance. And of course, Allah didn't tell him how you find your way. As soon as he came down, he could find the way. All this was just made up by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that he comes up on the mountain. So, آنس من جانب الطور نارا قال لأهلهم كثوا. Wait here, I am seeing a fire. لعلي آتيكم منها بخبر. I may bring you some news about how we find our way. أو جذوة من النار لعلكم تصطلون. Or a piece of fire so that you get warm. It shows that it was very cold at that time. فَلَمَّا أَتَاهَا. Now, when he came, first of all, as soon as he entered the environment, everything changed. Everything was saying tasbih, and as we have in other verses, that Subhanallah was being heard, and Alhamdulillah was being heard. All these things. فَلَمَّا أَتَاهَا نودي من شاطئ الوادي الأيمن في البقعة المباركة من الشجرة أي موسى. He was called from the right side of the valley in that blessed point or blessed piece of mountain from the burning bush or burning tree, from shajara, from the tree, and Ya Musa, inni ana Allahu Rabbul Alameen. Musa, I am Allah, the Lord of the whole world. Of course, we realized it was not the fire which was speaking, it was Allah. The sound was coming from that fire, because that fire actually attracted Musa to the place. Now in Surah Taha, what we have, because every verse gives a different perspective of this experience. It's very beautiful. I mean, every verse that talks about this first experience of Musa and first encounter is very beautiful to read, because it gives one aspect of that experience, one perspective from what happened on that very glorious moment, so to speak. Here in Surah Taha, it says, إِذْ رَأَى نَارًا, he saw a fire. فقال لأهله امكثوا إني آنست نارا فلما أتاها نودي يا موسى إني أنا ربك, I am your Lord. So this conversation was not very short. إني أنا الله رب العالمين, إني أنا ربك فاخلعنا عليك, take off your shoes. Exegetists have given different meanings for this. Why take off your shoes? But taking off shoes is a sign of respect, isn't it? You are now in the status of salat, something like that, a spiritual salat. إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوًى, this is a very holy place. وَأَنَا اخْتَرْتُكَ, I have chosen you. فَاسْتَمِعْ لِمَا يُوحَى, listen what I say. إِنَّنِي أَنَا اللَّهُ, I am Allah. La ilaha illa ana. Of course, the greatness of such experience cannot be fathomed by us. When Allah talks in this vein to Musa, La ilaha illa ana fa'abudni wa aqim salata li dhikri, worship me and establish salat for my remembrance. And then certain teachings that he gives him. Then in Surah Naml, again, a very beautiful, just before Surah Qasas, another beautiful explanation of this is فَلَمَّا جَاءَهَا, when he came to that place, نُودِيَ, it was called, أَنْبُورَكَ مَنْ فِي النَّارِ. You see, it's not repetitions, or we think that it's all repetitions. We think that the same thing is said several times. It's not the same thing at all. Every verse is telling us one different aspect, because Allah don't want to bore us with the whole story coming at once. Every verse tells us one aspect of it. Look what Surah Naml says, نُودِيَ أَنْبُورَكَ مَنْ فِي النَّارِ وَمَنْ حَوْلَهَا. Now this was not Allah talking to him, this was the angels. The angels were saying, everything here is blessed. You can just imagine how amazed, how flabbergasted, so to speak, Musa was there seeing all these things going round. أَنْبُورَكَ مَنْ فِي النَّارِ وَمَنْ حَوْلَهَا. It's blessed, whatever is here, whatever is in the fire and whatever around it. وَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. It was hearing this, Subhanallah Rabbil Alameen. Not Subhanallah just by words. It was hearing something which was so elating. Ya Musa, and then Allah started to speak. Before the angels prepared the ground, just lifted his soul up to that level that he was now prepared to listen what Allah is going to say. And this is why this was a direct communication, speech coming directly to his ears. That's why Allah says, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. Allah talked to Musa, not to any other prophet. With our prophet, this happened in Mi'raj, but for Musa it happened on the earth. Ya Musa, إِنَّهُ أَنَا اللَّهُ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. Now, there is a أَنَا اللَّهُ إِنِّي أَنَا اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Here, أَنَا اللَّهُ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. So as I said, every verse gives us one aspect of that conversation which went between Musa and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, what then? How long did this last? Apparently it lasted for long. And Musa was absorbed, completely absorbed. He was not a man of course, who was unfamiliar with these things. But now this was completely a new experience, something that, of course, could not come to an ordinary man. I don't know whether you have seen the film Ten Commandments or not. Maybe for your age you haven't seen the film Ten Commandments. But Musa is actually pictured, imaged according to the understanding of what they understand from a prophet. When he wants to go to Mount Sinai, he says, I'm still in doubt that whether there is a God or not. I want to go and find out. And then he goes and Allah starts speaking to him. This is absolute ignorance and absurd talk about someone having such an experience. This experience doesn't come to ordinary people. This experience comes to someone who for a long time has had other experiences, like our Prophet. For a long time he had other experiences, spiritual experiences, before Jibreel came to him and started to bring him revelation. And here the same thing. So Musa, of course, didn't want to stop this experience. So how long this took, we don't know. He forgot about everything, his family. We don't know what happened to his family down the mountain, of course. Rain, cold, maybe Allah looked after them, we don't know. But Musa was not thinking about anything now. It was just a private presence before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then Allah, of course, said, that's enough. وَمَا تِلْكَ بِيَمِينِكَ يَا Musa in Surah Taha. What is it? What is that in your hand, Musa? Now, this is my stuff. No, but Musa wanted to talk to God, isn't it? قال هي عصاي أتوكأ عليها وأخش بها على غنمي ولي فيها مآرب أخرى. Why did Musa go into such a length? Didn't God know what Musa was doing with it? No, he just loved to talk to God, isn't it? Loved to prolong this encounter and this conversation. He said, this is my staff. I look after my flock with it, and I make the leaves fall for them, and other things I do. And if Allah had not stopped him, he would have gone to say, what else I'm going to do with this? And this shows, I mean, this verse in Surah Taha shows that he loved to speak to God so much at that moment of conversation, and this was not going to be repeated. This was a moment which was not going to be repeated probably. So here, of course, it doesn't go into that details. As I said, usually things are not repeated in different verses. وَأَنْ أَلْقِ عَصَاكَ. Now, drop it. مَا تِلْكَ بِيَمِينِكَ يَا مُوسَى قَالَ هِيَ عَصَايَ. Drop it. فَلَمَّا رَآهَا تهتز كأنها جان ولا مدبرا ولم يعقب. Now, up till here it was all peace, it was all love, it was all spiritual experience. Now Musa is going to see a different thing. As soon as he dropped stuff, it became like a snake moving on the ground. So Musa was afraid and ran away. وَلَّا مُدْبِرًا وَلَمْ يُعَقَّبْ. He didn't come back. Yeah, until God called him. Ya Musa, أقبل ولا تخف. Come back. Do not fear. إِنَّكَ مِنَ الْآمِنِينَ. You are not from the ones who should fear from these things. You are safe and secure. In Surah Taha, it says, Ya Musa, أقبل إِنِّي لَا يَخَافُ لَدَيَّ الْمُرْسَلُونَ. Now, Allah is mentioning to him that you are a messenger now. We talked to each other, isn't it? We have talked to each other. Now you are a messenger. Messengers should not be afraid of me. إِنِّي لَا يَخَافُ لَدَيَّ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And then, أُسْلُقْ يَدَكَ فِي جَيْبَكَ. Put your hand under your clothes, on your heart. تَخْرُجْ بَيْضَاءَ مِنْ غَيْرِ سُوءٍ. You bring it out, it shines. Without any illness, without any disease, it shines. And the traditions say that even in the shining sun, the hand glows, that it somehow affected or overwhelmed the light of the sun. وَضْمُمْ إِلَيْكَ جَنَاحَكَ مِنَ الرَّحْبِ. Now, janah is here referring to the heart. Now, pull yourself together, come out of fear. فَذَانِكَ بُرْهَانَانِ مِنْ رَبِّكَ. These are two signs from your Lord. إِلَى فِرْعَوْنَ وَمَلَئِهِ. Now, of course, all that happiness went away, isn't it? I didn't talk to you without any reason. I want you to go to Pharaoh. The happy conversation ends here. Now you have to start working. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll continue with that. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Santo Shepherd, you always seem to end on a cliffhanger. I think tomorrow's is going to be quite jam-packed. I think there's a lot to get through, but you have to come to listen to the final chapter in Musa's story. We do have 10 minutes of questions and answers, so as before, if you'd like to use the microphone and just raise your hand, and inshallah we'll get through as many as we can. Any questions? Go ahead. That's all right.
لا تخف.
Thank you very much again for a wonderful lecture. In comparison to Nabi Muhammad's life, of course Musa is a different prophet, different person, but the contrast that I see is very, very interesting in the sense that Nabi Muhammad's life, he was only a prophet for 23 years, and yet it wasn't a private affair at all. It was aside from the first 3 years of his prophethood, where only his family knew about it, it was very much a public thing. He was, in a true sense, a messenger in that sense, that his message was open to everyone, etc., etc. Whereas in Musa's story, there's a lot of a spiritual journey, like those 10 years that he spent in Median, and then the story of Khadr before that, and then his struggles immediately before that, getting out of Egypt, etc. So, where does, of course, we're going to talk about this tomorrow, but where does the whole messenger side of things come into it? Because a lot of time of his prophethood is being spent on personal reflection, spiritual growth, etc., which is all about him.
Yeah. Well, if we think about, time-wise, probably when Musa went out of Egypt, he was about 25 years old, okay? And he was in Madian for 10 years. And maybe more. There was nothing to prevent him to stay more. We don't know. But let's put it 10 years and 25 years, that's 35 years. So when he was given the mission, he was 35 years old, something like that. But our Prophet was 40 years old, wasn't he? And he had all those private sort of experiences in Hira, going for seclusion, year after year. So almost the same age. And of course, Prophet Muhammad had 23 years of public life, of messengership, and Musa had more, maybe 50, 60 years, because he lived longer and he was with the people for a long time. So in terms of private life, before being appointed, I think they were almost the same. Of course, the circumstances was different. However, the same thing as having those experiences, having that spiritual life, abstaining from evil, being from muhsinin, the same thing probably. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Assalamu
Alaikum assalam.
Shaykhna, you mentioned about the second issue when Nabi Allah Musa went to Khadr alayhi salam, was the killing of the baby. Because And then when Khidr was telling him about the issue, about the reasons behind it, it was that the baby was becoming a kafir and he will give hard life to his parents. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided that this baby has to die. This baby, as a baby, when he dies, he goes
Not
directly to
exactly a
paradise.
baby, not exactly a baby, a bit older, say 7, 8 years old, for
Yes,
example.
but they,
something
they
like
will go directly to the paradise because they don't get punished.
that. Yeah, yeah,
What, like, if they were growing up, they will go to Jahannam.
yeah. So it was good, wasn't it?
It was good, of course.
It was very good.
But you mentioned that it's happening every day.
You see, it happened because of his father, his parents, isn't it? It was very good. If you are good parents, Allah would not allow our children to. This is the lesson we learn from it, huh?
The parents will will be hurt because they lost their baby and they don't know the reason behind it.
Yeah.
And also, the baby will go directly to the paradise where
Yeah.
he was about to live. He will go to Jahannam and have the adab first.
Yeah. So you have an objection for that?
Yes.
So he should go to hell, or?
Yes. Because we live this life, and definitely I'm full
You
of
envy
sin.
him, huh?
We are full of sins, so we're gonna go because وَمَا مِنْكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا كَانَ ذَلِكَ عَلَى رَبِّكَ حَتْمًا مَقْضِيًّا. About Jahannam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. So we are going to Jahannam, definitely. This is no doubt about it. But the babies,
No, that verse has a different explanation as well. However, the point about children dying and going to paradise, you may think that, well, it was better that every person would have died as a child's age to go to paradise. However, children going to paradise is very different from grown-up people going to paradise, because children have no action, and therefore they can only grow to a certain stage, and they cannot grow more than that. While the grown-up people, when they go to paradise, because they have actions, they grow infinitely. Okay, so if we are good people and we live a long life, we would certainly benefit. If we are bad people, we should our lives should be ended before we grow up as a child. However, of course, Allah has given the opportunity to everyone to grow up. There are certain circumstances, certain wisdoms. It's very complicated. We don't know how it works, isn't it? That for certain circumstances, people die at young age. And people dying at young age, of course, you see the parents were grieved very much. However, they didn't know what Allah had kept them protected from an evil son who would يرهقهما طغيانا وكفرا, from his tughyan, rebellion, and from his kufr, he would have really put them under hardship. So they didn't know that. So they may say, Ya Allah, we are patient to your qada, and we want ajr for it. They don't know what Allah has done to them, certainly. But if that was the case, that everyone should have died at a young age, then the growth, the perfection would not have come about at all. So it should go that way. Sometimes there are some exceptions.
Any questions?
Sorry, Shafik. I have a question in terms of.
I have a question in terms of the spirituality and the spiritual growth aspect of things. Practically, in kind of our busy lives, apart from the 10 minutes reflection time we get in Mahfali, which is actually timetabled into the Ramadan program, we don't get much time for reflection in our own lives. We're busy. By the time we get back home, we have to get changed or whatever, and it's often very difficult to get that kind of spirituality that Nabi Allah Musa alayhi salam. How do we, in our lives, try and reach that level of spirituality without, because obviously he's dedicated 10 years of his life to that spiritual growth. Practically for us in a community and thinking about a new community centre for us, how do we try and incorporate a more practical approach in developing spirituality?
Well, actually, every individual's circumstances differ from other individuals, and I think the only one who can actually tell how to manage this is one's own self. No one can plan for others. If we think that this is something important, we have to plan for it in one way or another. I mean, we plan for our work, we plan for our study, we plan for our business, we plan for our holidays, for our travels, we plan for all these things, and it all goes well. If we want this, we have to plan for it. If we plan for it, then of course it goes well. If we don't plan for it, it never happens. That's how all the prophets have done, actually. They have planned for it, and that's why it works. I mean, they were quite satisfied with a low income, so to speak, low level of material life. They were quite happy with all sorts of hardships, and they made it. They decided for their lives, they had it in their control, and they planned. Now, we cannot, of course, be like them in terms of disregard for material life and going through all those hardships. However, I think we can plan. For example, we can say, okay, at night I don't watch TV. Instead of sleeping at 11, I sleep at 9:30 or 10, for example. And then I wake up 1 hour earlier, and that 1 hour I dedicate for reflection. And that's the time of reflection, isn't it? I mean, we can plan for it. It's difficult because we are now somehow surrounded by the commitments we have made for ourselves. But we can change these commitments if we want, if we wish.
Okay. Okay, yeah, good. You have the mic over there. Sorry, sister here in the front.
Alaikum salam.
You were saying when Nabi Musa alayhi salam left the luxuries of the palaces and he went to Madian, his life over there was, from a physical sense, more difficult. He had to, earn his living and that. And you're saying that's the way for him to grow, and you can't grow when you're surrounded by luxuries. Is that something that we should be translating into our lives? Should we actively seeking to not be so comfortable, so to speak? Does that help us grow, or is that not really relevant to us?
Well, when I say luxury in Pharaoh's palace, you cannot imagine what a luxury I'm talking about. You see, we shouldn't aim at hardship for ourselves. But if it comes, I mean, as I said, if we want to plan our life to have a spiritual, to have free time for a spiritual pondering and meditation and worship and these things, then we certainly may face some hardship. We have to accept it. Not that we should bring hardship upon ourselves. Musa didn't want to bring hardship upon himself, okay? People who do this have taken probably a wrong understanding of all these things. They thought that these people brought it upon themselves. No. What we say is that the prophets went through all these hardships. It came naturally, but it helped them grow. But if we do it artificially, it doesn't help us grow. That's the whole point. We have to go through what Allah has destined for us.
Sorry, with, for example, Imam Ali alayhi salam, we know that he used to eat very hard bread and wear very rough clothes, for example. I mean, I know that's similar sort of things. Wasn't that sort of actively sought?
With regards to Imam Ali, I cannot say anything. Because even Imam Hussein said we cannot live like him. So I cannot say anything about him.